Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Crunching Your Growth, the show where truth is the entry fee and traction is the only scoreboard that matters. And I'm your host, Phil Masiello. And today we're talking about the aha moment that happens when professional expertise meets a massive market problem. My guest today spent 20 years and is still a foot and ankle surgeon, seeing the massive market problem. He saw the same chronic pain and fatigue in his patients day after day until a vacation of his own made him realize that the most basic piece of apparel he owned, the humble sock, was failing us. So he didn't just write a prescription, he reinvented the product from the ground up. He's a founder who understands that in the world of direct-to-consumer, fancy features don't matter if they don't lead to real-world outcomes. So please welcome the founder of Arch Tek Socks, Dr. Babak Baravarian.
How are you, Phil? Thank you for
Good.
having me. I really
Um,
appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You know, it's interesting that category of socks because there's been so many entrants in it, but most of the entrants are just traditional socks, just, athletic socks or whatever. But yours are different. Can you sort of take us back and explain to us the whole impetus of why you did what you did and what you're seeing?
Yeah, so as a foot and ankle surgeon, I've been practicing 25 years, and what we do is plenty of surgery, but we also try to avoid people from having to have surgery. And so um, part of it is sometimes we would tape people's feet, especially their arch. Sometimes we make them an insole or an orthotic to support their arch. And I know that this was something that was meant to be for me because I sleep like a bear. I mean, I do not wake up in the middle of the night. And I woke up in the middle of the night one night, wrote down arch support sock, and went back to bed. Like weird, right? Like maybe it's something that was meant to be. And then when I woke up, I was like, why isn't anyone doing this? And ignorance being bliss, I have a friend of mine who's a patent attorney. Out to dinner with him, I said, hey, I want to make an arch support sock and I want a patent on it. And he says, well, let me look into it. And he called me back and he said, you know what? Don't bother. There hasn't been a patent on a sock in over 20 years. Now, there are art patents, right? Like design patents, but I'm talking an actual true patent, which is something that is structurally doing something, nothing for 20 years. So I said, you know what? I think this is a really good design. Can you do a search on it? He comes back. He says, there's nothing out there. We file, we get a patent. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So then we started working with a company to try to make the socks. And again, if you think of, we refer to socks as a tube sock, right? The reason you refer to it as a tube sock is it's, anywhere between like 32 and 200 needles that go around in a circle and weave the sock as it goes down. Well, my sock, the arch is 5 layers dense and the rest of the sock is normal. So how are we going to make this machine that's going to pull 5 layers of material on this side? Well, it's doing something different on this side. And that had never been done. And so then we had to work with the factories and try to make them understand. And that took a year. In the midst of it, I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be a runaway hit and everybody in the world is going to want these socks. And, I'm going to be the sock guru of the world. And everyone I gave the socks to try was like, these are incredible. These are incredible. These are amazing. These are amazing. And then I realized that I'm a doctor and I have zero understanding of marketing. And it was the aha moment for me was you can have the best product in the world, but that is about maybe half the battle or less, because you can also have a really bad product and market the product really well and do well. But if you really don't know what you're doing, it's very, very difficult to really be able to be successful. And that's kind of my story.
You know, it's funny. I was speaking at a entrepreneur conference about 2 months ago, and the whole point of the conference was about raising capital for entrepreneurs. But there were three investors there, private equity people that represented private equity firms and venture capital firms, and they all said the same thing. They said, we invest in people, and we invest in an A player all the time because we know an A player can take a B product and make it successful and along the way improve that product. But you can never take a B player with an A product because they just can't make it successful. They'll never be able to get the story across. They'll never be able to get it
Thanks, Phil.
to get
Thanks
it
for
done.
calling me a B player. I
Not
appreciate it.
no, no, no. I'm not saying you're a B player, not at all. What I am
Listen,
saying is
in what I do, I'm an A player, right? In the problem is what I do has nothing to do with marketing, right? And you're totally correct in what you say. If you are not good first of all, you're never good at everything, right? And I've designed like multiple orthopedic products. My mind works in 3 dimensions. That's why I think I'm such a good surgeon. I've always been handy with my hands. I did woodwork growing up. So for me, like vision and like uh, um, biomechanics and 3 dimensional thinking is really easy. What does that have to do with marketing? Like zero, right? And that's what I've realized. And the other thing that's kind of interesting is, I think that within the world of orthopedics, like most doctors are good. Then you have a very small number of doctors who are great, and then you have a very, very small number of doctors who are exceptional. In the marketing world, um, most marketers are not good. I'm serious. Like it's amazing to me because I've gone through the process of trying to figure the right person to work with. And it's shocking to me how many people will promise you that this is going to be the best thing that you've ever done and we know everything and na na na. And you're like, well, how bad can it be? And you're like, oh my God, this is really bad. So I think it's a very different world.
I'm going to say to you that I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Nah,
And I'm talking to you not as a marketer, but as somebody who had founded businesses in the past and I founded brands and we couldn't do it all ourselves. One, we had retail stores and we needed a marketing and PR firm to help us and advertising, and it was awful. It was awful. We couldn't find people to get the job done, and we wound up, sort of nobody could understand what we were trying to get across better than what
that's
we did,
exactly it.
but we didn't have enough time in the day to do it because we were too busy working on the concept. We founded a beauty brand and we were lucky enough to get on the shopping channels with that brand worldwide. But still, we needed support. We needed advertising support, marketing support. And I think I went through 7 or 8 agencies. And, my partners in that business kept saying, I think you're being too picky. And I said, I'm not being too picky. They're not getting the point across. And then we founded a shaving brand and we struggled for 2 years, and I was getting frustrated because, social media was becoming a big thing, advertising, we just weren't getting anywhere, and woke up one morning, and I'm a baseball fan, and we were literally not getting anywhere. So I saw that there was this baseball player, Brian Wilson. He was a pitcher for the San Francisco Giants. He got traded to the Dodgers. First time he was going to pitch in a year. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take the bull by the horns. I sent a message to his people and I said, I'll offer him $1 million to shave with our razor. And they accepted it. Well, not accepted it, but they said, we'll talk to Brian about it. And that's all I needed. Then I got the PR firm. I gave it to him. I said, here's what you do with it. Next thing you know, we're on every single channel, every single sports channel, and it went viral and it launched us. But there was no creativity. Nobody understood. None of the advertising or marketing firms that we had understood what we were trying to get across with what we were doing. And so now I have a marketing and advertising firm, and I can tell you that we have to clean up so many messes left over from people, and it leads us. But at the same time, I will defend to a certain extent that I think sometimes marketers turn themselves into sort of burn and churn agencies. They'll say, yeah, we can do that, and then they can't perform. And the one thing I will say for us is that we turn down a lot of business because if we don't think we can make an impact, we'll say it. We'll say, I can't do anything with this. I may point them in a direction to somebody else who can help them, but I won't take on something, or my folks won't take on something that we don't think we can help with. And we've done it a tremendous amount of times where we turn people down. So I agree with you. There's a lot of garbage out there.
Yeah, um, I mean, I think over the past few years, I've kind of learned a little bit more about how you want to market. Um, and I think that the biggest things that as a layman you don't understand is you can't say I want to sell socks. You have to say very specifically, I want to sell socks to, for, and why, right? So I think that that's something I'm starting to learn more. We were very lucky that I did a marketing for a couple years with a marketing company, and it really was like hit or miss, never really going anywhere. So I decided that I was going to slow down the marketing and start to market to doctors, right? Why can't I have the product be available to physicians and they recommend it and then they can sell it and make some money and we make money. And that actually started to ramp up and do very well for us. And then we got a call from Figs, which is the scrubs company. And they were like, we want to do a collab with you. We've tried your socks. We love your socks. We think they're great for healthcare workers. And I already knew it was good for healthcare workers because every nurse and every doctor that wears them would come back and say, I can stand longer. I'm not as tired. After 8 hours of surgery, I don't feel like burnt out. I don't know why my body feels better, but these are only on my feet. And I was like, well, if your feet aren't tired, the rest of you doesn't get tired. There's lots of, rhythm to that. And so Figs is doing a phenomenal job in sales with it, but the difference is that they know how to market. And I think finding the right agency and finding the right fit for your product and who and how and why is really, really key.
No question. No question at all. And I'll tell you that the biggest uh the biggest thing that people don't understand is even marketers, to be honest with you, the the biggest thing that they don't understand is when you're dealing with consumers, especially consumers are not buying a sock. They're buying what the sock does for them. And if you can't get that across, if you're just going to sit there and say, we're selling socks, which you see, I could see a million ads out there, then you're not going to be successful because people don't want to buy a sock. They want to buy what the sock does for them. You're buying essentially you're buying a foot support solution. You're selling a foot support solution. You're not selling
I,
a
th- I
sock.
think, I think on top of that, uh, the sexiness of products makes a difference, right? Like I'm going to give you a product that's going to plump up your lips is easier than I'm going to give you a sock that's going to change your world. It's like almost having to reinvent the category for why. And I always compare, I say, look at Dyson, like vacuum cleaners are not sexy. And Dyson basically made a vacuum cleaner that is better, different. And so what we did is we basically like having a patented arch support wasn't enough for me. We really took a sock apart and put it back together with, no seams, antimicrobial material. Um, we have like compression in the socks. We have an energy return system. We have a second patent now that's coming out on our hiking and tennis socks that are sports specific. And those patents will reduce the chance of a Achilles injury, which is very common in sports. Our compression socks have this no cramp system because most people who wear compression socks to the knee end up having cramping and they want to pull their socks off at the end of the day. And it's mainly because your calf muscle's getting cramped. And we changed that. So for me, it's kind of like I want to be the Dyson of socks. But again, I can make the best product and I think I have the best product around, but that's meaningless unless you get the right marketing team to figure it
Sure.
out.
No doubt. I mean, that my latest book is The Why Behind the Buy, and that was all about why people buy things and why, how to get those stories across. And, there's a million brands that we've worked with where we were able to, get in highly competitive industries, whether it's beauty or whether it's personal care. You're not selling, you know, people have to get out of the mindset of, I'm selling a product and get into the mindset of, I'm selling a solution. Women don't buy skincare and beauty products because they're buying the product. They're buying what it does. They want to feel younger. I'm buying youth in a bottle. That's what I'm selling. So, it's the same thing with socks. I would say that, the only area that have never been successful in, or moderately successful, has been in fashion, because that's a whole different world. That's talking to women looking 18 months out. It's a whole different world. But personal care products and in general, we've been those are our strong things, strong suits. Food, beauty, and personal care is where we as an agency excel. But the other piece is how to make, you talked about how to make that product sexy. When Dyson made their product look sexy, they did it visually, and they made that product look sexy, even though they were talking about the science behind it. They made that science look so sexy that everybody wanted one of those vacuum cleaners.
I
And
have one of those sexy videos, Phil. If you look at our page of our products, there's a video that actually shows the sock geometrically being made and calls out all of the features.
yeah.
Again, I think uh, I'm going to stick to fixing people's feet and working on what I'm good at, which is designing. And, I'm hopeful to find the right person who's going to be able to market this. In the meantime, we're doing gangbusters with doctors, and Figs is doing gangbusters. So that collaboration's been fantastic. But I really want to get this product out to the world because I think they deserve it. It's an amazing product once you try it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the figs part and how well it's doing, because what you really want to do then from there is sort of harvest as much as you can the words that people use when they're happy in describing your product, because those words that they're using to describe your product lays a foundation for how to market. Because so, whenever you can get a brand like Figs to be able to get those people that they're selling to respond back, that's the best user generated content you can get, especially if you can incentivize those people to do a quick, video, and again, use their words for expressing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, why is it so important that you're focused? Well, aside from the fact that you're a foot and ankle surgeon, but why do you feel like the foot is the most important part to focus on? Like, does it have other impacts on the body, right? For
Yeah,
example.
I think when like we don't really pay enough attention to the structural aspect of how we stand. And what I see is like if one foot's more collapsed than the other, like if you're just off a tiny bit, and then you think of 10,000 steps a day, and then you talk about 30 days and 300,000 steps, that puts very different levels of pressure on a knee, on a hip, on a lower back. And then once you get into lower back, then it starts to travel up to your shoulders and your neck, right? So I don't want to say, the foot position is affecting your neck necessarily. What I want to say is that your alignment and the positioning of everything is related first and foremost to the way that your feet are. Um, that's number one. Number two is as soon as you start to have a weakness or an inflammation, you will alter your gait to accommodate for it. So one of the things we've noticed, which people talk about, is I could stand longer and I could walk further. And the reason for that is partly the patented arch support, partly the energy return system, which reduces the muscle strain, partly the compression, reducing swelling. Even swelling, if you have a more swelling on one side than the other, or which is common because our vascular system doesn't work exactly the same, you'll have less range of motion one side than the other, and that travels up again. So it's got a lot more to it than people really are willing to understand. Even the materials of each sock for each kind of activity makes a difference. Cotton versus poly versus nylon versus merino wool, they each have different things that they do. And so it's really, really become for me like a fascination with learning about subtleties that can make a huge difference. Again, the problem is that most people have gotten into the habit of, I just need to put something on between my shoe and my foot, and not realizing that that something can be so advantageous to you, or it can be just actually be a hindrance, because in a lot of cases it can cause blistering or infection or fungus or whatever else. So it's really kind of, once you start delving into it, it becomes a very interesting field.
I think from a consumer standpoint, it's also interesting because, I did triathlons for a lot of years and running and cycling and all kinds of things. And, I can tell you that it took me probably over a year to find a sock that could that could work for me because I used to have such terrible, I used to come out of a race with such terrible foot problems. I can remember getting infections. I can remember getting blisters. It was horrible and in weird spaces. And then another area that I had problems with was skiing because I would always get on my left foot this rubbing on that on my ankle, and it was tremendous pain. So I yeah.
So I'll
What?
tell you something really interesting that I'm super excited about. What we now are starting to do. So the first iterations were like just generic crew socks. Then it became dress crew socks. Then it became an ankle sock, a quarter sock, a compression sock to the knee. Um, then we started getting into different materials. What we have coming out now is, to me, like taking our product and multiplying it by 10. So we have a tennis sock that coming out that has strategic cushioning where you need it, has the arch support, has the Achilles protection, has padding on the ankle. Like now we've taken it and just kind of went sport by sport. So like our ski sock has padding on the ankle, has padding on the ball of the foot, has padding on the shin, specifically designed in the sock. It's a merino wool material because we think merino is best for skiing, versus the tennis sock is a cotton blend. Like I'm now getting into super detailed kind of designs, which I think is going to now be able to be marketed even better because you now can market directly to the tennis player, the pickleball player. But you can really get very, very, very detailed and fancy with socks, and it'll make a huge difference for people in the long term.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I do think that you said something a couple of minutes ago that when something hurts, you alter your stance to compensate for it, and I think that I've done that myself, and it's led to other problems, even if it's just walking. If my leg hurts, I wind up altering my stance, and she'll notice it. And it's not necessarily has to do with my foot, it might have to do with something else, my knee or whatever, but a lot of it has to do with when I wear older sneakers, which, doesn't have support.
So online, we're Arch Tek, which is ARCHTEK, archtechsocks.com. We're mainly online right now, or there are some variants of our socks also on the Figs website. Um, we have more designs and more styles available on archtechsocks.com. We give a guarantee, so if it doesn't work for you, just send it back. We'll give you a refund. We're not about like trying to screw people. It's about making people healthy and happy.
And where can people read more about you? Do you have a personal website?
Well, on Instagram, I'm lafootAnkleSurgeon.com. And my website is docs, DOCS, foot ankle, no and, that just DOCS footankle.com. So if you have a foot problem, I'm happy to fix it, but maybe try the socks first.
It was great talking to you. I
My
love
pleasure, Phil. Thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
I love the story, and again, the why behind the buy. I think is it's we're not just selling. You're not selling a medical device, but you're selling something that can actually solve a problem. It's very simple to solve problems. So, you know. And if you're a founder listening to this, ask yourself, what are you selling? And, are you selling that extra mile? Or, and if you want to see, how Dr. Bob is breaking through the clutter. Stay focused on archtechsocks.com. Look at their social media, and I think you'll probably see changes in the next couple of months as he looks for a marketing agency to help solve his problem. But so thanks again, and we will see you guys next week.
Thanks again, Phil.